суток, дамы и господа, вы на канале Red Ghost Game, меня зовут Юрий, я, как всегда, у микрофона. На данный момент продолжаем проходить Beyond Blue, погнали. Так, а вы знаете, что моя мама доктор океаном болит, а она старается его вылечить. Дочь доктора Мэнди Джои. Очень-очень познавательно. Продолжить. Так, погнали. Так, та же ночь, последнее погружение. Мы находимся у побережья района, где были замечены Андреа и ее мать. Костюм проверен и перепроверен. Нет риска подвергнуться воздействию, если не получится полностью справиться со сведением. Когда под кожу проникает нейротоксин, плавать становится трудно. Серьезно, погружаюсь. Так.
Are you sure you want to do this dive?
I'm okay.
Я в
And
порядке.
you're sure you want to record in
Будем
our streaming
записывать
format?
трансляцию.
Yes.
Да.
Ready?
Готово.
Recording
Включаю
now.
запись.
Tonight we're recording from the open
Сегодня
ocean
мы
in the
делаем
Western
запись
Pacific.
в
For those of you who are returning, we're trying to get an updated status on the mother and baby sperm whale that we've been following on our stream. We're recording tonight's stream because we have reports that the mother whale is distressed, and we don't want to surprise viewers if these reports are true.
After discovering a whale fall in our research zone, we suspected that the whales may have been exposed to a toxin or pathogen, and are currently investigating. Samples from several females in the pod tested positive for a toxin that we believe resulted from exposure to a harmful algal bloom near the coastal area just outside our research zone.
Как-то так получается. Погнали искать. Так, 6 из 8. Так, черепахи. Хотя бы черепахи все просканированы, хоть какой-то прогресс получается. Ну, музыка, конечно, тут классная. Такая расслабляющая.
As I approach the whales, I'm going to turn off my mic, but keep on my video feed.
Так. Да ладно. Ты умерла, что ли? Или умирает?
The whales that we tested showed low level of this toxin, so we do not believe they will suffer from long-term effects. However, we expect that the mother whale was exposed to a higher level and was also more vulnerable because of her pregnancy.
Жалко, конечно. Касатки приплыли.
Andre, those orcas sure look like they are threatening the baby whale.
Так, да. ладно.
Stay close to your aunties. They know the way.
Хотя бы был с родней.
As far as we know, those were the only 2 whales affected by the bloom. With all of Andre's technology genius, he still hasn't invented a way to be in 2 places at the same time. Before my flight home landed, Irina and Andre had already confirmed the location of the harmful bloom. I stayed close to home with Nana until she passed the next year. Ren moved in with me to save money while she finished school, which was great. Mostly. It was Ren's idea to keep the live stream going remotely using one of Andre's drones. But it was my fabulous idea to have Ren join the stream to choose the questions from the audience. She is definitely a hit. I can't lie. It's great to be diving again. While I was away, the baby became an auntie. I think she likes it. She still buzzes me when I play my coda sounds, so that is still a mystery. But I swear, we understand each other completely.
Вот получилось такое прохождение. Мирай теперь с сестрой. Она делает успехи. Жалко, конечно, маму с девочки Калашолота. Так что пишите свои комментарии, надо ли заботиться об окружающей среде. Стоит ли вообще заботиться о нашей планете? Что вы об этом думаете? Я считаю лично, что данная тема, которая поднимает разработчики игры, либо разработчик один, очень актуален по сей день. Именно то, что если не мы позаботимся о нашей планете, то она зачахнет. Очень даже довольно скоро. Именно судьба нашей планеты в наших руках. Так что очень и очень и очень печально получится, если все мы не будем заботиться о нашем родном доме на песчинке голубого цвета, плывущем вокруг нашей материнской звезды. Так что как-то так. Пишите свои мысли по поводу данной темы, комментируйте и оценивайте. И также будет интересно почитать, что вы делаете для нашей планеты, также как минимум для своего двора. Если у вас какие-нибудь растения, которые вы заботитесь, растите. Если у вас домашнее животное, то какое? Что оно любит? Какой вы пример приводите своим детям, чтобы они заботились? Или же вам все равно? Если вам все равно, напишите в комментариях. я отключаюсь пока что. Так, целая стая приглядывает Татара мира и Сато. Так. Так, Б. Так, необычные альянсы. Давайте глянем.
If people stayed on the shore and never got underwater, how would we ever know that fish like one another? When you see fish interact with other creatures, like the octopus and the grouper, who go fishing together, they communicate in ways that we don't know what they're saying, but they know what they're saying. They've been on the earth for hundreds of millions of years. They've had a long time to figure out these close relationships.
Sharks actually might prey on dolphins in a natural setting, but when they are presented with a bait ball, then they work together for this common goal to feed on the fish.
We had very large bait balls spread over probably half the size of a football field. We had mobula, we had dolphins, the bait was shifting everywhere, animals were coming in, moving out, just moving so quickly.
So we have some orcas around the bowl and also under. So everybody works together as a team, herding the fish. Males, female, everybody is doing this, and they will eventually share the stunned fish afterwards, which is pretty amazing to see. There is no competition, so everybody's working together and everybody is sharing the prey afterwards.
It really takes a long time of being in there, watching the same species of fish to figure out these really interesting things that they're doing. So I think that there's probably a lot of really interesting behaviours out there that we haven't even discovered yet.
Вот такие вот, получается, взаимоотношения ради всеобщего блага.
Jellyfish have mechanisms of self-repair. They're constantly getting bitten by turtles and chunks getting taken away. 50% of the jellyfish population are wounded. So they've gone through 500 million years living, persisting in the ocean in simplicity, and they've come up with some remarkable ways of living. There's something called the immortal jellyfish and how they age, aging in reverse, which we're just beginning to understand, where they get old and then degenerate back into a youth again. In understanding the gene pathways and how this happens, this could look at, humans. We don't have this capacity to age in reverse. It's like Benjamin Button, and it's here. And it just takes the kind of focus and dedication to look at that jellyfish and to grow that jellyfish and to figure out how to use the best available scientific tools to get at this question. It's just about kind of looking super deeply and letting the secrets unfold.
Ну вот получается секрет для медуз.
The energy from our star flies through the universe, through our atmosphere, and hits us at the ground. But now, when we go underwater, the ocean properties of water are like pure blue filter. So it's gonna filter out all these other wavelengths except blue. as you go down further, it's primarily blue, blue, blue till 700 meters. And at that level, there's still faint photons of sunlight in the blue range. And we call this the twilight zone. And there, animals are still perceiving a tiny little bit of our sun's energy. Below this, it's gone. 24/7 darkness. And it turns out that there's a ton of color vision down in the deep. So it's like they're making enough light down there to be able to be satisfying all the eyes of the deep sea creatures. So it's not this totally dark world down there. It's still light. It's just the animals are making the light rather than the sun. We've designed all this technology to kind of satisfy our visual hardware. As I started looking at other animals, they have totally different hardware. And I've been looking at everything through these silly little primate eyes. We have to overcome our humanness to jump behind the world of a shark or another creature and see the world from their perspective. We found a biofluorescent shark, and it only sees right at the blue-green interface. So it's really just tuned to a very similar spectrum to the environment it lives in. This fluorescence was creating greater contrast for the shark. It's like this endless well of information. We're at the very tip of the iceberg.
Также напишите в комментариях, вы знали вы про это или нет. Так, небольшая помощь друзей.
These animals travel thousands of kilometers, navigating open oceans that have no physical landmarks. They have that innate ability to find their way. They're only sharing our beach for a short point in time, but they need protection because man has brought an ancient species to near extinction. I got involved at a time when hostilities were very real. People came with guns and machetes to poach a turtle. We would protect these animals at all costs. Because on the high tides, when the tide comes up, this area here will be flooded, right? So when the sea turtle lays her egg, the nest requires a constant temperature. And if we recognize that this nest is in a real bad spot, we choose a spot further inland on the beach that's stable, and then we would evaluate if the eggs were able to hatch because of us moving them. And in both cases, we're always right. So as the villagers began to benefit from the tourism that turtle conservation was creating, they saw that the turtle was worth more to them alive than dead. The children really love sea turtles. We educate them, but we involve them. And by so doing, we get them to a level of interest where they want to become actively involved. When we first started this conservation work, we would encounter at the height of the nesting season 30, 40 turtles. Now we encounter over 500. That's significant. Some people argue, well, that's nature. Leave them. Why protect them? But remember, humans have to intervene sometimes to help nature keep existing.
Может, надо нашему обществу. Так, окей.
Imagine if I was sent in to go study the Mona Lisa, and I come in with a pair of snippers, and I'm like, I'm gonna need to cut this baby up a little bit to see what kind of chemical composition is going on there. Like, you wouldn't do that, right? We don't have to kill these animals. We don't have to kill to understand. If we could do a single cell, that means we don't need to kill 20,000 animals to be able to really understand that one. We could do our work much more non-invasively.
So we are working this year on a new project to deploy tags on orcas. We need to learn more about the diet and how they use the habitat. So by deploying those tags, we get the information we need. It is the least invasive method. It is suction cups. So it is not a scratch on the whale afterwards, which is something we really like.
In the deep sea, we use these like robotic claws from the oil and gas industry that gets you the sample, but this is so archaic. So we've been designing something called squishy robot fingers, which are ways to be gentle when we study the deep sea. But I think we could even take this another level. There's some organism, we quickly encase it. It's like a medical checkup. We give it a swab to get its genome. We image it from all directions. We open it up, that animal goes away, and we have more information than we've ever had before. These animals are Mona Lisas. Our perception of them should change. We should be more delicate.
Так. Неизвестный мир подводных соленых озер. Давайте глянем.
Brine pools are amazing habitat. It's a lake on the bottom of the ocean. And it's this surreal seascape. Chemically, each one of them is unique.
These brines undoubtedly contain bacteria, archaea, and viruses that are unknown to science. We know that they're incredibly rich in undescribed life forms. They have the perfect cocktail, the perfect recipe for life. These sites aren't just salty, they can be violent, characterized by eruptions and incredibly unstable conditions. So to live in them, you have to not only be hardy, but you have to be able to endure constantly changing conditions because not one day is the same. The organisms that live there, they undergo a constant biological warfare with each other to dominate the environment, to survive in the system. The biochemicals that they produce to do that biological warfare are applicable to curing diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's. They produce antibiotics and antivirals that can also be used to improve human health. And we drop targets as we go, so we know exactly where we sample. Exploring these habitats is absolutely necessary because the metabolic potential there has the capacity to change the way we think about medicine, to change the way we think about antibiotics, based on our knowledge that we gain from studying these incredible environments in the deep sea.
Вот такая вот у них работа. Луки-то все.
Sound to whales is everything. It's their hands. These are animals with the biggest brain on Earth and the most powerful sonic apparatus. They spend a lot of their time deep down. They're diving for an hour at a time in darkness. Just like a submarine is echolocating, they ping a signal out and then they wait for that signal to bounce off something and come back as the signal. And from that information, they could get an idea of what's there.
They constantly click, and that click sometimes can be really loud, and you can feel it in your body. It's like going to a DJ and feeling that bass. Once I had an experience with a sperm whale. It clicked, my ears almost like bounced back. It's really an amazing feeling, you know.
You don't develop a huge, complicated brain if you're not using it. Whales have little channels of communicating where they could talk to each other hundreds of kilometers away using sound.
Sperm whales make clicks in sort of rhythmic patterns that we call codas. Any family might have 20 to 25 different coda patterns that they use when they're having conversations with each other. And some of them are unique to different places in the world. In the Eastern Caribbean, they make a lot of what we call a 1 + 1 + 3. That sounds kind of like this. And that's only ever been recorded in the Caribbean. And it's been identical for the last 35 years. These are really different ways of life that are being labeled by these coda patterns. In the same way that human language is kind of a shorthand for where you come from. You can make a lot of missteps when traveling simply by speaking incorrectly or introducing yourself differently. Do you hug? Do you shake hands? Do you bow? And a growing concern has to do with the noise that we're putting into the ocean. Everything we do impacts everything they're doing. The sound is causing high levels of stress in animals like this. No one wants to live at a rock concert. You can imagine trying to have your home inside an arena while some metal band is playing. And that's increasingly what the ocean feels like.
Вот. Пишите, что думаете об этом. Так, геотермальные источники нужны всем. Вот давайте глянем.
Hydrothermal vents are located on the seabed, often in deep water, but sometimes in shallower water. And they form in areas where new oceanic crust is being formed. You can have 400-degree water here and 2-degree water over here. It's an accelerometer for chemistry, and you can form organic compounds in the absence of biology. Everybody's interested in vents because of the metals, including humans. But the metals are sort of the nuclei for life. When you think about what's required for life, you've got to have an energy source, you've got to have a system that's able to utilize that energy source, and the organisms sort of co-evolve with the rock. And in my mind, that's probably how life originated. There are reservoirs of precious metals in the deep sea, and we do have societal needs for precious metals. It's very short-sighted and dangerous to exploit resources in ecosystems that we don't truly understand how those ecosystems function.
Deep sea mining is when people go out and extract minerals from the seafloor. People do this because a lot of the minerals that we have on land are actually being depleted, like copper and zinc, so we're looking to the ocean to get those minerals.
We want these minerals for solar panels primarily, and we want them for cell phone boards. It's necessary to advance society and get us off fossil fuels. We simply have no idea about the environmental consequences of a lot of these actions that we're taking in the deep sea. We have tended to go for the quick benefit and we'll deal with the consequences later. Well, I think that has caught up with us.
We don't know enough right now to effectively, selectively mine the deep sea without catastrophic consequences.
The science has always lagged behind the industrialization. I would like for once to see the science ahead of the industrialization and have the science define the limits of the industrialization.
Также напишите, как вы считаете, для производства нужны подобные экологические ограничения или нет? Интересно даже послушать и почитать вас.
I study things that are beyond their wildest imaginations, and that I see things that are brand new to science and to people and to humanity every day.
I'm at home in these kinds of environments. It's funny, I'm more comfortable here than I probably am on the outside.
It wasn't just that I was meant to be out on ships. I was supposed to be in the bottom. I was supposed to be in the deep water. I was supposed to be doing those things that nobody had ever done before. It completes who I am. Being a deep sea scientist, it does require sacrifice. I mean, we're away from our families for weeks on end, sometimes months on end. It's a constant struggle because you miss parts of your kid's life. My oldest daughter was about to turn 3 when the oil spill happened in 2010. I was at sea a lot. So between 27 months and 36 months, I was gone probably more than I was there. When I came home after a 5-week stint in the Gulf, she came running up to me in the airport. She had transitioned from a toddler to a little girl, and the little girl was gone, and there was this other person there. And you don't ever get that back. It was a decision. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna miss transformations, I'm gonna miss really important things. Is it worth it? I had talked to her class about the ocean, and one of her friends said something to her, and she responded, you know, my mommy, she's the ocean doctor. The ocean is sick, and she's trying to make it better. She couldn't even say important, she's like, it's really important. But she understands that it's an important job. Every time before I leave, I say, my most important job on this planet is being your mother. But this is part of me too.
Вот как-то на такие жертвы приходится идти некоторым людям.
We're burdened from a time when we thought the ocean was too big to fail.
You can't take anything for granted. Even though the ocean is so big, it is sensitive.
The oceans are the kidneys of the earth. They recycle material and filter it out. Most people don't know that. They're not aware. They see the ocean as a sewer that they can dump anything into, and it's out of sight, out of mind. Nothing is out of sight, out of mind on this planet. Everything is connected.
We are absolutely in this mix of biogeochemistry, and our role so far has been consumptive and destructive. If we are to continue to have a planet that works, we have to heal the harm we've caused.
What's the worst case scenario if we deny that the climate is changing, but actually it is, and we do nothing? Then billions of people's lives will be directly affected just by sea level rise alone, let alone the other effects of climate change. So it's not about who's right, it's about the consequences of being wrong in the decision that we make right now.
Educating everybody from school children, fishermen, tourists, if we can manage to do that, we have a very good future and we can gain a lot from the ocean.
If we could establish the foundation for interspecies communication, we can make first contact. And that's where I hope the future goes. Because what we really want is curious, conscientious, and a self-correcting population.
You changing can affect all the people around you. To walk instead of drive, to buy a hybrid, to ride a bicycle, to not use single-use plastic. Imagine if everybody did that. The effect would be tremendous.
We do have the power of choice about what we eat, what we wear, how we travel. All the things that we do in an everyday way, times 7 billion, will make all the difference in the world. We must protect the ocean, as if our lives depend on it, because they do.
Ну, как я и ранее говорил. А тут более детально сказали. Так. Знакомство с... И последнее видео давайте посмотрим.
That's an idea. Hatch secure, life support running, and we are ready for the water.
Oh, here she is. Look at the length of that thing. He is wider than the sub. Is long.
No one has dived to 1,000 meters in Antarctica.
My depth, 1,000 meters on bottom, over.
As a scientist, I could tell you we discover something new every time we go out. That's been my drive, to discover things, to uncover mysteries that we can then solve.
We're on a new frontier of ocean exploration that will bring out the explorer in all of us. We're partnering with the Ocean X initiative to build a mind-blowing platform for exploration, a research vessel that's a one-of-a-kind ocean conservation and media platform to explore the world's oceans in ways that were never before possible, to create one big wave for the oceans.
I think it's really exciting. There's still a massive part of this planet we know nothing about.
We need to make people understand what we do in the next 10 years is going to determine what the ocean looks like in 200 years' time.
Audiences glued to Blue Planet 2 have been starkly reminded of the problems of plastics pollution.
50 years ago, Jacques Cousteau and the Calypso managed to capture our imagination. Somehow we lost that moment. We have to get back that personal connection to the sea.
The greatest era of exploration is still ahead of us. Exploring the ocean can help provide a piece to the big puzzle.
Ну, на этом у меня все. Пишите свои комментарии. Интересно даже будет почитать. Спасибо за просмотр. Всем пока-пока. И спасибо, что вы были со мной на протяжении всей этой игры. И комментировали. Всем пока-пока.